Chairman, may I introduce Mr. Besmellah Rezaee?
Chairman and the Board of Directors, I am a legal practitioner and practice in the space of human rights and refugees. My question in relation to Resolution 5, I would start by sharing a story. I have been involved in...
I'd like you to be quick, please.
I will be, Chairman. On 29 October 1998, the Australian government attempted to forcibly deport Sadiq Sheikh Ilmi to Somalia, despite being aware that there was a high risk that Mr. Ilmi would face torture upon return. On the day of the scheduled deportation, Mr. Ilmi was visibly distressed. It was clear that he was being transported involuntarily. The captain of the Qantas plane refused to allow Mr. Ilmi to be taken on board, despite the considerable pressure from the Australian guards. Mr. Ilmi was then scheduled on another plane the following day. This brief delay meant that he and his lawyers had the time to prepare his case, and he subsequently was able to successfully stop the deportation and seek protection and remain in Australia. Now, this is an example of one pilot from this company abiding by the positive obligations imposed by international law. Why can't Qantas as a company champion such brave decisions that can save lives?
Thank you. I'll get Alan to respond to the question.
Okay, can I say I think that's a misrepresentation of what actually did occur, because the way the policies work with airlines, and are always going to be the case, the captain has to make a judgment call, and a captain on a one-by-one basis makes a judgment call on the safety and the security of the operation. And if he doesn't feel that the particular aircraft can operate safely, then he can refuse to carry any passengers, and that's the way every airline in the world operates. In fact, I think one of the cases that the ACCR was using was how Lufthansa were handling, and they had a large number of cases where the pilots felt it wasn't safe to carry the individuals, yet Lufthansa had the exact same policy we do, and the exact same policy that the government and the courts are the places to achieve that. But that's an airline process. It's a risk management process. It's an operation process where the pilots have complete control of an individual flight and have to judge the safety of it. And that could involve protesters making a big deal out of it. That could involve the safety of the individuals that are in case. And we also, without going into too much of the details, we have very significant processes in place with anybody we transport, and looking at the health and the safety of the individuals that is judged before people are put onto the aircraft, and that information is made available to us, and that's the process that we go through with the government. So this is done at multiple different levels to ensure the safety and security of all of our passengers on board an individual aircraft.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Again, this is involvement. The flip to that story is that I had a client on 15th March 2017. He was an Afghan, and despite us lodging a stay on his order so he could process his case in the High Court, he was transported from Adelaide to, it was an internal transfer, and subsequently removed. Now, this man, I have his consent to name him Mr. Hashmi, was removed to Afghanistan, and within a week he had to flee the country. So the flip to that story is that Qantas, despite doing its work as an air carrier, is being inadvertently complicit in removing people like Mr. Hashmi who can't risk their life and stay in countries that they have fled from.
Thanks, Mr. Rezaee.